But speaking of the Jets, as you know, we have Crazy Jets Fan on every week. And last week in the pub, we filmed our show from there during the Cowboy-Eagle Monday night game. And a little interesting scenario went down in the pub. Why don't you take a look at this? What do you got for me, Crazy Jets Fan?
I want to issue a challenge on TV here. Crazy Jet Fan versus the Cowboy Fan in a game of quarterback. Right there to the right.
Whoa. I think I'll take it.
If Crazy Jet Fan wins, the Jets get to take over the show for a week. Yeah. and if I lose, I'll do my segment naked.
Oh.
I got one thing to say to you. You got a quarter, baby? Let's go.
Oh.
Wait. So me and Crazy Jet Fan decided to battle at some football trivia, and he was no match for me. All right, I asked that nobody yell answers out from the audience because God knows he ain't going to know them, so. So me and Crazy Jets Fan did some trivia battle. He really had no chance, and here was the winning question right here. Holds the NFL record for the longest field goal, and you know that's Tom Dempsey, baby, on November 8th, 1970, 63 yards against the Detroit Lions. 5 for 5, baby, I'm the man, and Crazy Jets Fans going naked next week. How about that, baby? So as a result, Crazy Jet Fan is now going to be naked this week to do his little segment. Last week he celebrated his birthday, and now he's in his birthday suit. So take it away, naked Crazy Jets Fan.
What's going on, everybody? Crazy Jet Fan here with me, as always, 2XL. Got a little cold this week. My voice sounds a little funny. And speaking of being cold, yes, I'm totally nude under this table. Keeping my end of the bargain I made with the Cowboy Fan last week. But what can you do, right? So let's get into this week's game, shall we? First, we got the Jets at Buffalo. When Foley got knocked out 2 weeks ago, really upset me. Got a chance to see what he was going to do the rest of the season. Could have seen if he was going to be our man or not, but that's the way the season's been going for Jet fans, so what can you do? We always play Buffalo tight, though, so I'm going to take the Jets this week by a field goal. The other two games I got this week, I got Arizona, Carolina. Arizona, miserable as always, losing again last week. And Carolina's little win streak ended also. But I like Carolina because they're the underdog, and you got to go for the underdog in my book. I'm a Jets fan, and I'm going to go with Carolina by a touchdown. And the last game I got Seattle at Washington. I'm a big Seattle fan, but I don't think they're going to be able to upset Washington. I know they beat the Giants last week. Washington's a better team, and I'm going to give a little shout-out to my roommates. I'm going to go with Washington by 10 points. And it's getting a bit nipping here, so I'm going to get out of here now, and I'll see you all next week. As always, goodbye from 2XL.
Well, that was a very cold, Crazy Jets fan, although we tried to warm up the studio for him. Hope you ladies enjoyed that. It's his own fault, his own doing. He bet me and lost last week, and as a result, he's naked. But he's done with that now, and isn't he happy? And aren't we all happier? But anyway, me and Anthony here, the 49er fan, we've been talking about the Cowboys and 49ers. The big shock that happened last Sunday, but we want to get away from that right now. I want to talk about some stuff going on in the rest of the NFL this week. Big NFC Central battle, Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears this week. The Bears come in at 6-4. They just keep losing to the Green Bay Packers. Maybe if they can do that, they'll maybe become a contender. Barry Sanders on the road at Soldier Field. What do you think of this game?
I think that Barry Sanders is a great running back. I think he's been starting to improve week by week, and I think that he's really going to break out for a great game against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Lions and get into the playoffs, because if they don't, Wayne Fontes' job is history, and he'll be shopping his resume elsewhere. Green Bay is at Cleveland this week. As you all know, I gave up on the Cleveland Browns last week as AFC Super Bowl hopeful. They fell to 4-6 with a terrible Monday night performance against the Steelers. Green Bay, you know, one of those teams, you know, they're a decent team. They'll beat some good teams every now and then they'll lose games they shouldn't. I like them to beat the Browns this week, although that really doesn't mean much. The Browns are headed for Baltimore, which I think is a travesty. Why don't you speak about that for a second?
I have to say, if anyone caught the Monday night game, you might have seen that people were wearing orange bands around there.
Yeah, they had, the Steelers, I think, and their fans wore bands to support, to protest the Browns moved to Baltimore. I mean, it's nice to see Baltimore get NFL football back because there's a lot of tradition there, but not like that. Not with the Cleveland. Send the Seahawks there. They got no tradition. Send the Seahawks to Baltimore. Then again, Baltimore Seahawks don't make too much sense now, does it?
Not at all. But then again, also I'd like to state that if there's any sports fans at all that just, if you like sports whatsoever, you should also wear that orange band, because I think this is just a travesty.
Travesty is the word you're looking for. You see, you're trying to say tragedy and travesty, and you're getting the two words mixed up.
Exactly.
Because it is both. It's a tragesty or a travity. And I'm making up words now, so I better move on. Colts are playing at New England this week. The Patriots have had strong finishes in each of the last 2 seasons, and Bill Parcells got a pretty damn good record here in December. Can the Patriots roll off the numbers and get a playoff spot?
It's going to be exciting because right now they're in a playoff situation. Right now, every game to them is do or die. If they lose one game right here, it's going to be over with. And I think everyone in New England knows it. Parcells has really got this team motivated, as you can see with the Miami game.
Yeah, big win against the Dolphins last week at Miami. Hopefully get that ball rolling, but they're pretty much going to have to win the rest of their games on the schedule to finish at 10-6 and get in the playoffs. They might back in at 9-7. That can happen, but Patriots are pretty much going to have to win the rest of their games. But it'll be interesting to see because they won their last, I think, 6 or 7 last year to finish the season, and I think they won their last 5 back in '93 to close that out, and they knocked Miami off out of the playoffs in the last week of that season. But it'll be interesting to see. Other game, Jacksonville's at Tampa Bay. Buccaneers got to bounce back if they want to get in the playoffs. There's 5 teams ahead of them at 6-4 in the playoff race. They're hosting the Jaguars. And I don't know. I like the Buccaneers. Hopefully they'll back into the playoffs. What do you think of this game?
I definitely agree with you. I think the Buccaneers are a team that's going to be on the rise, especially in the Big Sombrero. I don't see them having any problems with Jacksonville. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to start a new Florida rivalry down there between those 2 teams. New Orleans is at Minnesota this week. The Vikings, they backed into an overtime win against the Cardinals last week. And they're hosting the Saints, who started off 0-5, but suddenly won 4 of their last 5 games. And it's going to be tough to get in the playoffs, especially in the NFC now. 5 teams are currently sitting at 6-4, and with Dallas at 8-2, you know, one of those teams is going to go home happy. So the Saints, like the Patriots, are in a similar situation. Better win the rest of their games. I like the Vikings this week, only because the Saints don't do so hot on the road, except when they're in Candlestick. But what do you think of this game?
To tell you the honest truth, I really couldn't care less about this game.
I couldn't either, but, you know, I just feel compelled to tell you about these games. I don't know why, though.
If I were to add anything, I would say that I kind of like New Orleans in this game. New Orleans. I like Jim Everett.
A little French action for all the French people out there.
Even though Jim
Down in the French Quarter.
Hey, you're cutting me off.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Even though Jim Everett, even though they're the division rivals, I like to see them win. You know, give some crumbs to the petty. Give some crumbs to the poor.
Don't even get like that. You saw what happened to me, man. I'm your martyr, man. Don't make the mistakes I did, all right? Coming on every week and smoking trash. Because you get burned, baby. You can't have that. So 49er fans, hang low. I'm warning you, man. Take heed. It's not pretty right now. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get you a TV schedule for this week. I seem to screw this thing up every week because the schedule I have doesn't print the correct times. And then the networks decide to play other games. Hopefully I'll get it right this week. Fox has the doubleheader. So here's the TV schedule for Week 12. Okay, we're back, rolling on through the NFL schedule this week. Pittsburgh's at Cincinnati. This is an interesting game. The Bengals went into Three Rivers a couple weeks ago on a Thursday night. Actually, they really beat the Steelers handily. Yep. But the Steelers are starting to bounce back. They look real good against the Browns last Monday night, and I'm now picking them as my sleeper to get into the Super Bowl because no one's really talking about them right now. But the Bengals, even though they're 4-6, are really
an exciting team.
They're an exciting team. All the games they lost are really close, and who knows if they'd have had Kajana Carter this year.
Yep.
They lost their #1 running back pick to a knee injury for the season. Who knows if they can win this game? They might be able to sneak into the playoffs. Who do you like this week?
I like Cincinnati. Like I said, they're an exciting team. I think this is going to be an offensive showdown. I think there's going to be if there's a over/under, take the over.
Take the over. Because Blake's going to be airing it out, but I don't know if the Steelers can catch up. Yeah, I mean, they scored 20 points against a good Browns defense last week, but I don't know how high-powered that offense is.
Exactly. I think Neil O'Donnell has a real problem. I was watching the Monday night game. He just would not go long. He just every time, and he did have one guy wide open down the sidelines. I don't know who it was, and totally overthrew him.
Yeah, Neil O'Donnell's he's a mediocre to decent quarterback, but I'm going to take the Steelers this week because no one's really picking them. A lot of guys pretty much forgot about them. Well, with the AFC West battle going on between the Chiefs and Raiders. And speaking of the AFC West, the other two teams in that division that are halfway decent, the Chargers and Broncos meet this week at Mile High Stadium. Winner of this game has a shot at the playoffs. The loser of this game can pretty much pack it in, especially if it's the Chargers, because they're at 4-6 and they need this game. As I said, the winner of this game, should it be the Chargers, would have a tiebreaker over the Broncos and put the Broncos in a real bad situation down at 5-6. Elway went out last week with a concussion. As of now, we don't know if he's ready to play this week. He's probably questionable, and you know he wants to play. This is a big game. What do you think?
I think that the Chargers should take this one. As with the 49ers, Chargers also made it to the Super Bowl. You have to give them the respect for that. And I think that they should pull it off. They're a good team. And without Elway, I don't see much of a chance for the Denver Broncos.
Really? Well, let's see. Well, we'll have to see what happens there. But the Chargers, you got to show the heart of a champion, as the 49ers did last week, much to my dismay.